Hello, folks. We've got Todd here first. Todd, this is looking good. I like the texture on the shirt or sweater, um, and the pants is looking good. The shoes look like, at least in this view, look sort of like a black hole. So maybe you get some more, maybe a little lighter, and maybe some more detail on those, or maybe you just assign a black texture. I'm not sure, but you could add some detail there. And for the shirt, if you can add things like seams um, long little edges that can really help things. I really like this texture on the cap that really looks like a wool cap. The face, I think you could vary the color a little bit. It looks like, and it may not be, but it looks like just one color assigned to the whole thing. The eyes have a nice texture, but I think, look to paint in some stubble. The Again, the hair here looks like just this solid default gray, so get some hair texture painted on those, and that'll improve that. But already, he's looking pretty good, and I think with a little more work, you can make him that much better. So this is Cord. Hi, Cord. So yeah, I mean, I can see you've got a different color for the pants and shoes and body. I think that it's looking like, at least from this image, that you're just painting with solid colors rather than projection painting textures on it. And I think you'll get a much nicer look if you do that. And maybe get into more detail with a sharper seam along there and here, so it's not sort of faded, and maybe add some details to the pants so they look, right now they look literally painted on, because they are painted on, and that's okay, but I think with some additional detail it can look less painted on. And then yeah, and I'm not sure, it seems like it's just not wearing a shirt because this pretty much the same color of the skin face as the body. So I mean, you're starting to get some more variation up here, but in general I would say if there could be more texture projection painting rather than what looks like just solid colors, at least from here, I think that'd be better. The hands are looking sort of like the default gray, so I think, if this is his skin color, those that should match as well, unless those were metal hands. I'm not sure. Either way, it looks like it could use a little bit more time and detail and texture on it. This is Mark's. So this is pretty small and hard to see. So what I'd really be looking for is a screen snapshot that's a little bigger and easier to see, and the texture file. And a number of you either didn't turn in your texture file or didn't turn in what I was actually looking for. And just to show you, I've got Mark's Maya file open up here. And let me just clear the graph just to show you how I did this. So I selected the surface and hit this button's graph materials on selected objects. You can get the same thing from the menu here, and I can see here's the material and here's the textures involved. And so let's double click on this one, and I can see the image name here. So it's this file right here, this skin module 7 TIFF. So it's that file that I would like you and everyone to be uploading into your assignment, so that I can open this up in Maya and really look at it properly. So that's when I say in the assignment the texture image, that's what I'm talking about. Um, I have, I open this up here so we can look at it from what you have. And yeah, I mean, again, like a couple of the ones, from what I can tell here, it looks like just solid color painting, and it's good that you can get the colors in the right place. But again, same things I've been saying. Let's paint with textures in Mudbox. Let's get some things like some seams in the shirt, maybe some other details. You can put like a button on the pants or a fold at the bottom. You can put either laces or just some of the leather detail in the shoe, some variation in the color of the face you can put on. If he doesn't have geometric eyebrows, you could add some, paint on some eyebrows and some stubble, and if not stubble, just at least color variation in the face, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more you can do with it. You've got some basics on there, that's good. I think you could take it further. So James having this issue with his file, clearly the UV map has gone berserk. So I downloaded this file and opened it up in Maya, and this is what the UV map is looking like for me. And to me, very obviously, that's why your getting that. That UV map's fine, that UV map's fine. This one exploded somehow. So the thing to do will hopefully you have a Maya file saved somewhere, even if you uploaded it to the last assignment, which might be the case, um, where you have the correct UV map, and then maybe if you map it on with that one. What we don't have here is what I mentioned with the last one, um, which is this skin texture TIFF. Now you sent a bunch of files. It looks like the stuff that you. Oh, this is skin texture right here. Okay, my bad. I don't know why it has the grid stuff on there, but either way, so we do have that. But what I think you exported in such a way that it has the UV map on top of it. So at some point, this UV map obviously was working fine because I can see the UV map right here. And I can see that you painted a skin texture and some stubble and all that stuff is good. These red lines will indeed show up in Maya if I map it on there. So you'd want to have a version of this where you send without all of that. But yeah, I think somehow the UV map somewhere got completely messed up. That's why you're getting this result. It all looks kind of artistic and interesting. I know that's not what you want, but one thing that you can do, and hopefully you won't have to. Hopefully you can just open up the file that has the working UVs and then bring in this texture and then assign it to that. But if you needed to transfer the UVs, it's possible to import that other model into this and select the one with the correct UVs and then shift select this one, and then you can go to mesh transfer attributes, and I think the default settings are set up to transfer UVs where see it says UV sets all, and I mean you could turn color sets off, and I think you'd want sample space would probably be local. Anyways, there's probably more stuff out there, but I'm hoping you don't really need to do that. I'm hoping you just have the model, you assign the texture where the UVs haven't exploded, and it should work fine. This is Erica. This is coming along nicely. Really like these kind of pinstripe lines. It's reminding me of Tron, and it sort of looks like the fingerless glove thing you've got going on from what I can tell from this image. And here's the back. Yeah, so there's cool stuff going on. I think, yeah, maybe more sort of kind of not just the red seams, but maybe like sort of black or gray seams to show a little bit of the construction of the suit, unless those are the construction of the suit, which would be okay too. And I like the face. It looks like you've painted some variation here. Let's get the eyeball textures going, some eyebrow, but overall I think that's looking pretty good. This is Mario. So I've got this open in Maya, and yeah, there's some good detail. You can see you painted some stuff on the belt, which is good. I think other than that, pretty much just solid color on everything, and it would be nice to see you kind of, paint some lips and get some variation of color in the face. And like I'm saying, maybe some sort of seams on the shirt and things like a button and or zipper flap on the pants, and additional detail in the shoes, and maybe paint with textures rather than color, kind of what I've said for the last few people, more what I'm looking for. But yeah, you got some of the basics going, so that is good. This is Evren, and yeah, this is looking good. I have it open in Maya here so we can get a closer look. Clearly there's painting with different textures going on, so it's not just an even color and everywhere. And I take it, are these supposed to be eyes on him? Because I think if that's the case, that you should put geometry there. Just, get some spheres, get them to be this shape. You can still paint a texture you want, or just assign that, shiny material of that color. And I think that's going to look better than having those just painted on there. Yeah, these mitts or interesting for rigging. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, I think that I might work a little bit. I mean, assuming these are pants and that they seem to be, this it's just kind of very uneven, kind of jagged line. Kind of cleaning that up a little bit, and maybe get a sense of again if it is pants, and I think it is sort of a belt loops and zipper button. Um, and again, kind of clean up this edge here a little bit could help. But yeah, it's good to see you working with the textures and all that kind of stuff. And clearly, you're getting the sort of painting workflow idea down, and that's good. This is Joseph Santos, and yeah, we've got some nice um, texture going on here. Maybe a little bit too. I think you sort of want a higher frequency in the detail because I'm almost seeing it's almost sort of having this almost marbled look. I think the other thing that's I'm guessing you have. I guess I could open the My file and see exactly which material you have, but you have one of the shiny materials, and you certainly don't want that for the clothing. Here's what it looks like when I open it. Looks like there's some issues with the UV map. Um, at least when I open it, maybe it may not be happening. Yeah, look, that's interesting. It looks like everything is just moved slightly off somehow, or not everything, but like all of these shells. Like you'd have to go in and why is it not picking the whole shell? Anyways, interesting. Oh wow, that's a separate shell. That's not good. I don't know why that's broken up like that. Anyways, you'd have to grab those and move those back. I don't know if that's happening in your file, but it's happening in this one for some reason. And obviously, you have the texture image you sent has the actual UV lines in it, so that looks weird. But anyways, the point I was making about all this was that the material is a in this case a Fong, and I mean I'll get into this in a minute, but you can turn the specular color all the way down and it'll act more like a Lambert. And what I'll talk about in a minute is doing a specular map where you have certain areas that are painted, you know, so that they have specular and certain areas that aren't. So if we look back at um, this, whoops. Anywhere there's skin, you could, anywhere there's like clothing, you could paint black as a separate file, and anywhere there's skin, you could, maybe some kind of gray. And then what you would do is in here is you would bring that image in and map that, to the specular color. You'd go file and you'd browse for it and you'd attach it, and then the skin would be a little bit shiny, and then the clothing would be matte. So I'll show that again in a later critique. I think Yuri's critique. I was going to show something about that because he asked about that. But yeah, so that I would fix the shiny thing. But back to the actual image that where it's working in this version. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, I like that kind of gray for the stubble. You've got some variety here. Like I said, higher frequency there. He looks like the kind of guy who might have a couple stains on his shirt, so it might be interesting to get that some variation going in there. And again, some seams would be nice. Those kinds of things. Um, yeah, and if you're not going to model eyebrows, then you should paint eyebrows on him. So, where am I? So this is Yuri, and this is his. He did a nice 360 here. That's very helpful. Eyes look really nice. So his question was what I was touching on earlier was make his armor have a sheen and his fur not. And that's what I was mentioning before, where again, graph material on selected object, he's got a blend, and you can see the specular color controls that. So what you would want to do is go into your map here, and on the areas, like basically all these black areas, well, you'd want them to be painted white, and all these lighter areas, you want to paint. So white means that it's going to have some shininess. Black means it doesn't. You can see that right here if if I do that like so. And what I could do just for fun, just to try this out, the kind of lazy man's version, is to go image adjustments. Where is invert image? So I'm most of the way there, right? So I'm just going to save this as specular map and go back in here and go here. Where are we? Specular map, file, browse, specular map. Okay, so it still is a little bit shiny on there, probably because I didn't go, to the extreme that we could have gone to, where it should be shinier on the black. Let's take a look at that Photoshop file again. Yeah, you can see this is really, we want all of this stuff to be black, and I don't have it quite. So let's just, again, real quick, let's just paint this black here. And again, I'm just going to do a very sloppy job so we don't just so you see the concept at work. And of course you'll go in and carefully paint your stuff. But let's save that. Go back in here. You'll be able to see the change live. So let's hit reload here. There you go. You see that change? So yeah, so if the armor pieces are painted white, the fur pieces are painted black, then you can get that result that you want, where these aren't reflective and those are reflective, or shiny, I should say, because there's actually a reflectivity control, which is a separate map. So yeah, this is nice. I mean, look at this nice detail on these decals. I guess they don't hold up that close to the camera, but from a distance they look really good. I think that I think you have enough resolution to get the fur looking a little bit nicer than it does. Because when I look at this Photoshop file, you know, uh, let's reopen it actually. And I do. This is 1-to-1, and I look at, there could be more nicer looking fur detail here. So, like just for example, look at this part of that finger. Let's try to see that on the Maya file. Or sorry, I guess that's a toe. Not sure where we're looking. I mean, kind of here. I guess that's not that sharp, but I guess my point is you have the resolution for a sharper fur, so I'm not sure why it's coming in it's coming in like it's really low res, and it's not really that low res. So I'm wondering if you can, get that sharper on your, um, either through Mudbox or painting it, kind of a clone stamp paint in Photoshop. Because if you can get these things this sharp, certainly the fur could be sharper too. And then maybe you want to do a different color for eyebrows, like white might be nice, white fur there. Kind of like you have this pattern here. So there's some nice painting work done on him. I can see you've really gone around and done that, but somehow it didn't come out sharp. And I think that could be better. So you could probably improve that in Photoshop or taking it back through Mudbox again. And the image size you've got here is what? Yeah, I mean 2048 by 2048 should be. You should get more sharpness here. Certainly that's possible. Um, but yeah, I mean really, this is good, and from a further distance it looks really good. And I think it will be worthwhile for you to quickly paint that spec map. I think you'll be pleased when you do that. And I mean, in a similar note, you can do stuff like a bump map. So if I, and again, this is like the lazy man's way of doing it. You want to really thoughtfully paint a bump map, but the idea of a bump map is like what's lighter color looks raised and what's darker color looks lowered. And I can actually just use the same file. Not that I really recommend doing this, but that looks crazy. Actually, I don't know why it's. Oh, did I do that with the Is this the spec one? That's the spec one. I meant to do it with this one. So I can drag this onto the bump map. And yeah, obviously that looks insane. But we can just, oops, sorry, I meant to lower this, 0.1. There it's just, it's subtle. Just compare that with um, 0. Yeah, still might be a bit much. But anyways, you can get a little bit of a, yeah, you're seeing it where it's shiny more, and you're seeing it, here's where it's going to be really noticeable because you have black and white right next to each other. So you're going to get a bit of an exaggerated bump. But that can be kind of just a nice, easy way to get a little bit more texture going on is use a bump map. And it's sort of a cheap trick to use your image map as a bump map. But because really what you should be doing is carefully going over it and making the areas that you want light to be raised and black to be lowered. But again, this is a quick way to get a little bit more texture out of it. So we've got Adrian here. So he's used a picture of himself as a stencil, which is kind of a cool way to work and to go for something realistic. So I've got that open in Maya, and when I first opened this, I was like, "What's going on here?" And for some reason, the got the transparency mapped here as well. I don't know why that is, so I'm just going to break that, and then we can see this a little bit better. I'm just going to hide that for now. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of what's nice is and I think the photo helped you out with this a lot. Is that you're really seeing that variety in skin color and texture that I kind of keep going on about. You've got the fur, I should say, or stubble, or whatever you want to call it, facial hair here, and there's just some variety in skin color and tone. Um, so yeah, there's some sort of splotchy patches that look a little odd, but for the most part, that works well. And I think what I would do, really, probably you're going to want to either um, paint on clothes or model clothes, and I would say just at this point I would just paint on the clothes because I think it would be faster and easier. But or unless you want to go nude, that's okay too. But I think it might look better with clothes. So think about painting on some clothes. But yeah, very cool that you use the the actual photographs for that, and it really worked to get those variety of skin tones and some hair stuff going on as well. This is Lupita. She's got a question, which is she wants to change some of the geometry and make adjustments. Will I still be able to, even though it has UVs attached to it? And the easy, safe answer is to say no. You can't change the geometry afterwards. The truth of the matter is, you can get away with some geometry changes after UV map without it getting too messed up. But certain things won't work. For example, if I just smooth the whole thing, well, let's look at this in Maya real quick. Actually, that'll help. So, by the way, I've got it open in Maya. It's missing its texture, and the file you sent has the UV map, red lines on top. What you want is this skin.tiff, which is in your Mudbox 2017 blah 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 blah, blah folder. But I can just use the one you sent, just to have something to look at, but it has the red lines on it. So yeah, I mean, texture-wise, this is looking pretty good. It's a little hard to tell with the green lines on it, and I think this might be lower res than your real one too. Maybe not. But yeah, you've got some good skin texture going on. As I've been saying before, I like to see sort of seams on the other little details on the clothing and shoes and stuff like that. But so let's take a look at the UV map, and I'll show you examples where you can get away with this. So I wouldn't smooth it at this point, by the way, because there's plenty of detail. Probably want to delete the history there. But if I did want to, just as an example of something you can do, watch what happens when I smooth it. Oh boy, It's slow. Yeah, it's too dense. Don't smooth it. But just as an example of geometry that you can change without having to update the UV map, look, everything's mapped on exactly as it was before. So that's one example where you can do that without consequence. Um, an example where it's not going to work, and I'm just going to do something silly like select some faces and extrude them out. Maybe you wanted to give them a belly or something like that. So, you know, what we've done is I guess it's not terrible. It's added that stuff in there, but um, you know, if you look at the size of these faces and the area you have to texture that, what you'll see is, let's do like color feedback, for example. Is that going to work? Yeah, you see how dark red that is? Because you don't have enough area compared to that. So that's where sort of any adding geometry kind of thing is going to be an issue. I'm going to undo that. Um, but the other thing is that, again, not necessarily recommending any of this as being a great idea, but if you wanted to remove stuff, like if I double click an edge and then control delete to get rid of that, it's kind of okay. Like, it kind of didn't do too much of a change to the UV map. So, if you're making subtle small changes, you might get away with it. If you're adding any geometry, like doing something like an extrude, that's not going to work. Um, so, like I said, the safe answer is no, don't change geometry after UV map. The real answer is there are certain things you can get away with. So this is Christian, and yeah, I mean, this is working out okay. Um, what you've done is you've taken a seamless fur texture and assigned it to the character. And the idea was to take these textures and use them as projection painting things in Mudbox. What's nice about this, and this, if I think it was Yuri who had the furry character, like, you can see the level of detail you can get with this fur. You should be able to get that sharpness. But what's not so nice about this is, the seams. And because this wasn't projection painted in Mudbox, you're dealing with a lot of, well, anywhere you have seams on your UV map, you're going to have them on this character. I mean, from here you kind of get away with it, actually. But then, if you get close, for example, to the face, you're going to see that one on the neck and stuff like that. So it wasn't really quite doing this the way we had intended, which was to go into Mudbox and projection paint rather than just assigning a texture straight. But I mean, it's kind of a good chunk of the way there just by doing this, so it's not too bad. Um, and yeah, get something on the toenails. It would be nice to paint like a detailed kind of texture on those and the teeth, but at the very least get a color assigned to those, and so forth. So yeah. Again, like, I'd like to see you paint this in Mudbox with it using this fur texture. It's a very nice fur texture, but actually projection painting it. So you're thinking about the size in different patches, and then you're thinking about making sure there's no seams. And then you can also get into it, like, look at the coloring on, for example, a real wolf, and where do they have darker fur and lighter fur, and try and get some of that going on in the character to take it to the next level. Um, okay. So yeah, a few of you, still need to turn in, screen snapshots, texture image files. Definitely want to look at all that stuff. But as always, you can always turn in something again all the way to the end of the turn to improve on it. I always encourage you, if you have time. The caveat to that is, don't get caught up in improving previous assignments to the detriment of your current assignments. Make sure you're kind of getting the current one done as well as your top priority. Okay.